All right, this could be good for Rashad White. A running back has 3 or more catches against the Bills in every game this season. They've allowed 36 or more receiving
points.
They've allowed 36 or more receiving yards to 4 running backs: Jacobs, Mostert, ETN, and Ramondre Stevenson. They do struggle a little bit. They struggle a little bit against running backs just in general. But Dave, you said you're not optimistic about Rashad White.
Rashad White has run up the gut on 59% of his runs this season, over 90% of his runs last week. They are not being creative with him in the run game whatsoever. And while Buffalo ranks poorly in yards per carry allowed at 4.9 for the season, they're giving up just 3.1 yards per carry to running backs up the middle. So that's the one area that Rashad White is usually used, and he's going to struggle with it. And against the pass, the Bills are holding running backs to 72% catch rate, 5th worst in yards per catch given up to running backs, 8.4, but they're trending in the right direction over the past 2 games against the Giants and Patriots, 5.6 yards per catch. I think they're getting a little bit better at defending running backs is what I'm trying to say. And White isn't exactly the most impossible running back to deal with. If you start him, you're hoping that he gets 5 catches, not 3. You're hoping he gets 50 yards, not 30 or 38 or whatever you said. And then you also have to hope that he somehow finds the end zone, which he's been nearly allergic to all year. I would try and sit Rashad White.
Anyone disagree with that?
I don't disagree with sitting him, but I'm a little bit more optimistic if he's going to be involved in the passing game. But there's no certainty that that's the case, that he will have more than the 3 catches he's basically gotten every game so far this year. So if last week was a sign of things to come, then you'll be excited about Rashad White. If not, you're going to be probably disappointed because it just the body of work has not been there with Baker Mayfield. But I do hope that they saw something that they could build off of, because that's what's going to make him a better fantasy asset.
Yeah, I don't like, there might be some things in terms of yards per carry that the Bills have done better against running backs, but they've just been destroyed by them lately. Like I think he's a low end number 2, a borderline number 2. I'd like to have somebody else I could start, but they gave up 6 catches last week to the Patriots running backs and a touchdown.
They did, but the yards per carry is much better over their last 2 games. Now it's against the Giants and the Patriots, 2 teams with pretty mediocre offensive lines, and I'm being nice. It's 3.5 yards per carry.
Yeah, not mediocre.
2.71 yards after contact, 7 missed tackles. That's over the last 2 games combined. I think they're trending in the right direction.
If you're counting on Rashad White for his rushing numbers, you're making a mistake.
There you go. Now, he does get a lot of touches. He's one of those running backs that get you somewhere between 16 and 20 touches every week. But you know what the production has been for fantasy, and it hasn't been good.
All right, let's move on from Rashad White. Let me just ask a few comparisons here. Dameon Pierce has a great matchup at Carolina. Would you start Dameon Pierce or Rashad White?
Pierce.
Yeah, I'd start Rashad White. I'm not even sure that Dameon Pierce is going to be the best running back on his own team.
Exactly. If I knew that Pierce was going to be the lead back and they'd come out of the bye and make him the guy, I'd say, okay, why not? And Pierce would be the starter over White. Maybe in non-PPR, you could still do it. But in full PPR, I got to go White there.
Would you start Zach Moss against the Saints or Rashad White?
White.
All right. Heath, Moss or White?
Yeah, probably White.
All right. Baker Mayfield, we're sitting, I assume?
Yes.
Okay. Buffalo, second best against quarterbacks. But they're just actually, they give up a lot of yards. They don't give up a lot of touchdowns. But sit Baker Mayfield. Rashad White, we talked about. So is Mike Evans an easy start for you guys?
Yes.
Yep.
What about Chris Godwin? And I trying to diagnose what the heck is going on with Chris Godwin. He's just he's been fine. 6 catches for 66 yards. He's double-digit PPR points in 5 of 6 games, but only one time more than 13.7 PPR points. And that was when Mike Evans left with an injury. I got to say, it is, in my opinion, a lot of it's on Baker Mayfield. They have a terrible connection. Maybe it's on Godwin's routes. I don't know. But he has about 20% of his targets have been inaccurate. And he's had 5 end zone targets, and I watched them all. And I would say that 5 of them were uncatchable. If maybe 4, maybe you give him 1. But he has had a lot of opportunities just left on the field. I mean, there were at least 2 in the game last week, and Baker Mayfield is just missing Godwin over and over again. It gives me some hope that he can do more with the targets, but I don't know. Heath, go ahead. You wanted to get in there?
Yeah, I think we need to put it in context. Like, he's got a 67% catch rate, so he's not missing him that often. That's a pretty maybe we're saying he should be catching 80% of his targets.
Look, no matter what, there's going to be some inaccurate passes, no matter who the
going right. What's going on with Chris Godwin is the same thing that went on. That's different because he's not coming off an injury, but the first half of last year, he doesn't have any touchdowns. He's averaging 55 yards a game. He was at 60 yards, 63, 64 in the past. Like he's like 5 to 10 yards off what he normally does. He's just not scored any touchdowns.
But that's what I wanted to highlight because those 5 end zone throws have been awful to Chris Godwin. And he could have had, I would say, 3 touchdowns maybe. But, I don't know if that matters to anyone, but Baker just keeps missing him in the end zone. At least he's throwing to him in the end zone. 5 end zone targets is pretty good in 6 games. But anyway, what'd you say?
He's a number 3 wide receiver.
Godwin or Rashad White?
Godwin.
I will also take Godwin. I'll take White. Will I take White non-PPR? I don't know. I think I might take Godwin in both.
Godwin or Gabe Davis in this game?
Godwin
if it's PPR.
I would take Gabe and non there, but Godwin if any catches count for anything.
How about this? Josh Allen, in his last 2 games, he is come on, where is this damn stat? I'm sorry. Oh, he's 2 for 13 for 56 yards on pass attempts of 20 or more air yards. Is there an injury there? Was there an injury?
There was an injury to the shoulder.
Yeah.
Right. So that might be affecting him right now. And
there also was a terrible win last week against the Patriots.
Fair enough. And the last 2 games have been the Giants and the Patriots. So those teams are great defending the deep ball, actually. Tampa Bay is kind of middle of the pack. They do give up big plays. So how do we feel about Gabe Davis this week? We'll get back to James Cook in a second, but you're starting Allen, you're starting Diggs. How do we feel about Gabe Davis?
He's Gabe Davis.
As Sean McDermott said this offseason about the questions related to Josh Allen over the last several years about will he run more, he said, just play the tape. I'm going to say the same thing every week. Just play the tape on Gabe Davis. It's going to be the same thing every week. Boom bust number 3 receiver.
That's what he is.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
He doesn't have a matchup that will deter you from using him, nor should it deter the Bills from taking shots at him.
I don't think it's that frustrating. Like he's your wide receiver 3. Some weeks he's going to give you a great week. Some weeks he's going to be a bad wide receiver 3.
Yeah. But if there's any way to predict it, I think you could look at teams that struggle against the deep ball, and the Bucs, I would say, like I said, middle of the pack. But also this whole thing with, I thought there was a shoulder injury, so thank you for reminding me about that. Maybe that's playing a role here because Allen's been terrible throwing the ball deep the last 2 weeks. Maybe we need another week to see if it was the weather and the matchups. But that did scare me a little bit.
There's also a change coming. They're now going to probably run a lot more 11 personnel because they're down Dawson Knox. And so maybe there's a few different routes coming for Gabe Davis. We saw that at one point earlier this year. So hopefully that'll be the case, that there's some more opportunities. Like we could just sit here and say the obvious. Well, it's just more coming for Dalton Kincaid. Well, there's more coming for probably Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis and maybe Khalil Shakir as well. So there's going to be how the targets are dispersed and how they use Gabe Davis might change. And so that could be a big benefit for him. So you just treat him as a number 3 receiver. Now you could compare him to a lot of guys in that range, players that have come on, Josh Palmer, Raji Rice, Josh Downs. There's certainly different directions you can go depending on the format you're in and what the rest of your team looks like and what you need. Because if you need a big week from a certain player, Gabe Davis can deliver that. If you don't and you want a safer floor, then you go a different route. But I think Heath has it nailed and has it nailed for the last 2 seasons. You just put him in your lineup and hope for the best.
I'm not putting him in my lineup. I'm starting.
Well, who are you putting him over him?
If you want to know specifically, I will tell you in one moment.
I want that. Here, I'll give you a stat. The Bucs have allowed 5 touchdowns to wide receivers this year. 4 of the 5 have been on deep balls.
Oh, crap. I might have to start him. So my 3 receivers in this league are Keenan Allen and Puka Nacua, which are easy, and Josh Palmer. I'm starting Josh Palmer over him.
I would do that too.
For sure.
My 4th one is Christian Watson. Christian Watson's my flex right now, and I can't. I can't. I have to think. Yeah,
the worst quarterback.
I don't know if I have. Well, I don't know if Watson's going to play. Right, so I got to start as of now.
Exactly.
But if you told me Watson was playing, like if he practices in full today or something like that, that would be a tough decision for me, but I'll probably just go Gabe Davis.
Look, Davis,
narrator. He will not practice in full.
Yeah, he will. But if he practices in full on Thursday, on Thursday, it might. But I will go Gabe Davis, I think, because it's not like Watson is so reliable. Sorry, let's move on. James Cook. Jamie, starter sit James Cook.
You start him as a low-end number 2 running back and hope that he's more involved in the passing game without Dawson Knox there.
Mm-hmm. I'm so annoyed that I have to put Gabe Davis in my lineup after all those stats. Would you start James Cook or Jonathan Taylor?
Taylor.
Yeah, I'm going to make that move right now. Taylor.
James Cook or Derrick Henry?
I have Henry one spot higher.
Cook and PPR.
Yeah, I think it's Cook and PPR. That Titans offense could be a complete train wreck.
Henry is facing the Falcons this week. James Cook or Bijan Robinson?
Bijan.
Yeah.
Bijan.
And we'll do one more. James Cook or DeAndre Swift? All right, we'll do 2 more. James Cook or DeAndre Swift and Joe Mixon?
Swift. Easy.
Is anybody considering DeAndre Swift over James Cook at this point?
No. Okay, fine. James Cook. Well, I feel like Swift's come down to earth a little bit.
He has, but he still has more upside than Cook.
James Cook or Joe Mixon?
I'll take Cook.
Yeah. Mixon's at San Francisco. Cook 3 cooks in the kitchen. All right, finally, Dalton Kincaid. Would you start Kincaid over Waller, Pitts, Goddard? Guys who are starting to look a little bit better than they did a few weeks ago. Would you start him over any of the guys that we thought were must starts?
No.
Nope.
I think I like that he's going to have what should be an expanded role without Knox there, without Quentin Morris there. What I've seen from him this year is that he's a zone beater. So short area target who can find space underneath for Josh Allen to dump off to. And Josh Allen really hasn't been a dump off type of quarterback, but maybe because of the shoulder, he's starting to lean into it a little bit more. That's what last week would tell me. And the type of defense that the Bucs tend to play, they blitz a lot and they play zone coverage behind. It's actually a perfect mix for Kincaid. So I would take the chance on him as a top 12 tight end, but anybody that you drafted as a starting tight end should easily go ahead of him. The one that I'm grappling with is Dalton Schultz versus Dalton Kincaid. I'm right back where I was on Tuesday between the two of them.
Pitts is the one I struggle with, but right now I've got Pitts over Kincaid, but that's a tough one for me.
I have Pitts over Kincaid as well. I have Schultz over Kincaid for this week as well.
Yeah.
I think you just look at the Bucs have been great against tight ends.
That's true.
The schedule that they've played and the guys that they've basically eliminated are fantastic. So like for Pitts, for example, they just lost a key member of their secondary. The Titans have his opponent. So I like the setup for him better. And I think Schultz, I know we have a concern about Tank Dell coming back, but the Panthers I just don't think are very good. And they're down Jeremy Chin as well.
I am worried the tight end targets for the Falcons go to Jonnu Smith for the revenge game.
It's a coach revenge game, so he may just want to have his best game. Hopefully,
Tampa Bay, they are 12th against tight ends, but it's been Hawkinson 35 yards, Kmet 38, Dallas Goedert 41, Sam Laporta 36 yards on 11 targets, Kyle Pitts 47 yards, and none of them have caught a touchdown. So they've played. I'm gonna guess they've played the toughest tight end schedule, and they haven't given up a touchdown yet. Although they haven't faced Kelsey or Andrews, but they face a lot of really good ones. All right, Buffalo's DST is kind of all over the map. Let me just make sure I have it updated here. 16th for Jamie, 10th for Dave, and 6th for Heath. Tampa Bay is
I am that low
as of now. Yeah.
Oh, that's a mistake.